Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back in the video today, and today the Houston Rockets have declined Fred VanVleet's team option of $43.9 million, and right away are going to be signing VanVleet to a 2-year, $50 million deal that will come with a player option. So next offseason, just like this offseason, the Rockets and VanVleet will be in the same situation. The only difference will be is that Fred will have the control instead of the Rockets, and he will make the decision whether he stays or becomes a free agent. And this year, the Rockets made that decision, and he's signing a 2-year, $50 million deal. I got to say how much respect I've got for Fred. I know this wasn't a player option. You know, most guys, if it was a player option, would probably just opt in. You saw Kyrie last night opt out of his $43.9 and take less, $39 a year. So, Kyrie did that yesterday, but a lot of times guys will opt in. I know it's a team option, which the Rockets had the decision on whether Fred VanVleet's option would be exercised or declined. So I know Fred didn't make that decision, but just because the Rockets declined that option, it doesn't mean, and the Rockets signed VanVleet to an extension afterwards, didn't mean Fred had to sign that extension. He became a free agent when the Rockets declined that option. He could have been pissed that he's losing out on almost $19 million for next season if he's signing $25 a year when he could have had $43.9. I'm not saying he's worth that money, but he could have had that money. And some guys would maybe be pissed and say, no, I don't want to re-sign anymore. And I don't think it was a shock for Fred for that to be declined. I think the two sides had agreed that he'd be returning regardless whether they declined it or they exercised that option, and that he would sign an extension afterwards regardless whether they declined it or accepted it. But still being willing to be okay with it, all that after the Rockets are a team that did decline his option. And another thing I will say is it helps the team more too, him taking less money, taking $25 a year, when it could have been $43.9 million he would be making next season. And so very, very selfless of Fred that he said, all right, I'm fine taking 25, taking 19 less, signing the extension right after they declined it. So, but this season averaged 14, 6, and 4. Played so great in the playoffs, this Rockets team. In that 7-game series, he averaged 19, 4, and 4 for the Rockets, averaging 1 steal per game, was absolutely on fire from 3 in games 4 through 7. Shot 44% from 3 in that series. Not to mention, he shot terrible in the first 3 games. His 3-point shooting, he couldn't buy one. Like the first game in that series for Fred, he went like 2 for 10 or 2 for 11, whatever it was from 3. It might have been 2 for 13. But his shooting in the first 3 games was just horrendous. And even though his shooting was that poor, you saw how incredible he shot the ball from games 4 through 7. I think if you look at his 3-point percentage just through game 4 through game 7, it is over 50%. So you love to see the way Fred played. I mean, you could see in those last 4 games, Game 7. Game 7 was one of the games, but in Game 7 he wasn't as active as he was in the 3 previous games. But he had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals in the final game in that series. Shot 3 for 6 from 3. Then you look at Game 6 of that series. Had 29 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds for the Rockets in that game. Shot 7 for 13 from the floor and 6 for 9 from 3. Then Game 5. It was a big win for the Rockets in Game 5. Down 3-1. VanVleet shoots 8 for 13, 4 for 6 from 3 with 26 points. Then 25 points in this was a loss, but in Game 4, 40 minutes, 8 for 13, 8 for 12 from 3. And he had 25 points, 6 assists, and 2 rebounds. So you look at in games 4 through 6, he is 25 or over, 25, 26, and 29 through games 4 through 6. And his three-point shooting was unbelievable in the last 4 games of that series. He knocked down a total of 21 threes in the last 4 games of that series, averaging a little bit over 5 threes a game in the last 4 games of the series. And look, those attempts weren't very high. It was 21 for 33 from 3 in those final 4 games. So that's way over 50%. It might be closer to 60% than it is 50%. So let me know your thoughts on the Rockets re-signing Fred VanVleet to a 2-year, $50 million extension after declining the $43 million player option or team option. So, yeah, I'm excited to see Fred VanVleet back, and we will, in a year from now, we will be talking about the same thing with Fred VanVleet, but what he makes his decision on his player option, because there is a player option in this deal for Fred VanVleet. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.